You had said that music saved your life.
Oh, for sure. It makes me feel less alone and it makes me feel heard. There were some dark times where I did feel like music was all I had. I feel like it's still probably there somewhere in the back of my head, but the louder thing that competes is that I feel like my dad would be proud.
Imagine growing up believing you were the daughter of the most famous musician in the world, only to find out one day that the man you called dad might not be your biological father. It sounds like the plot of a Hollywood drama, right? Well, for Paris Jackson, this wasn't a movie script. It was her reality. And the truth, when it came out, was stranger than fiction. So what exactly is her story? The shocking truth behind Paris Jackson's DNA. Let's rewind a bit. Paris was born in April 1998 to Michael Jackson and Debbie Rowe, a dermatologist nurse who was briefly married to the pop icon. From the start, Paris's life was shrouded in mystery. Michael, ever the protective father, went to great lengths to shield his children from the prying eyes of the media. He famously covered their faces with masks or veils during public outings, sparking endless curiosity and speculation. But despite his efforts, the world couldn't help but wonder, who were these kids and what was their life like behind the gates of Neverland Ranch? Fast forward to Paris's teenage years. After Michael's tragic death in 2009, Paris and her siblings were thrust even further into the public eye. As she grew older, Paris began to explore her identity, stepping out from the shadow of her father's legacy. But along the way, she couldn't shake the nagging questions about her roots. Rumors about her parentage had been circulating for years, fueled by tabloids and conspiracy theories. Some claimed Michael wasn't her biological father. Others pointed to a man named Mark Lester, a British actor and longtime friend of Michael's, as the possible dad. Now, Mark Lester isn't just some random guy. He's a former child star best known for his role in the 1968 musical film Oliver. He and Michael became close friends in the 1980s, and their bond was so strong that Mark even became the godfather to Michael's children. Over the years, Mark has made cryptic comments about his connection to the Jackson family, once revealing that he had donated sperm to Michael as a gesture of friendship. But was there more to it than that? Paris, ever the curious and independent spirit, decided to find out for herself. According to sources close to the family, she took a DNA test to uncover the truth about her biological father. The results? Well, let's just say they were earth-shattering. The test reportedly revealed that Michael Jackson was not her biological father. Instead, the results pointed to Mark Lester as her real dad. Imagine being in Paris's shoes. You've spent your entire life believing one thing, only to have that belief turned upside down in an instant. According to insiders, Paris was devastated when she first saw the results. She reportedly broke down in tears, struggling to process the revelation. Her brother Prince was by her side when she opened the envelope, and he later shared that Paris felt crushed that no one had ever told her the truth, not even after Michael's death. But here's the thing, Paris's relationship with Michael wasn't defined by DNA. To her, Michael was her father in every way that mattered. He was the man who raised her, loved her, and shaped her into the person she is today. The DNA test may have changed the fact, but it couldn't erase the bond they shared. So what does this mean for Paris? For starters, it's forced her to confront some hard questions about her identity and her place in the Jackson family. It's also added a new layer of complexity to her already complicated life. But if there's one thing we know about Paris Jackson, it's that she's resilient. She's faced more challenges in her 20-something years than most people do in a lifetime, and she's come out stronger every time. As for Mark Lester, he's remained relatively quiet about the whole thing. While he hasn't publicly confirmed or denied the DNA results, those close to him say he's been supportive of Paris behind the scenes. After all, this isn't just a story about paternity. It's about the relationships that shape us, the secrets that define us, and the lengths we go to in order to find the truth. But this story isn't so simple and isn't just limited to Paris. It's about the Jackson family as a whole, a dynasty built on music, fame, and more than a few secrets. And it begs the question, what other mysteries are hiding in the shadows of this legendary family? A dynasty built on music, fame, and secrets. The Jackson family isn't just a family, it's a phenomenon. A name that echoes through the halls of music history, synonymous with talent, ambition, and a legacy that has captivated the world for decades. But behind the glittering performances, the record-breaking albums, and the adoring fans, there's a story of struggle, sacrifice, and secrets that shaped the Jacksons into the dynasty they are today. It all began in Gary, Indiana, a small industrial town where dreams often went to die. But not for Joe and Catherine Jackson. Joe, a steel mill worker with a passion for music, and Catherine, a devout homemaker with a love for melody, had 9 children. And in those children, Joe saw something extraordinary: raw, untapped talent. He was determined to turn that talent into something the world would never forget. The Jackson 5 was born. Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and the youngest, Michael, became the heart of the group. With their infectious blend of pop, soul, and rhythm and blues, they burst onto the scene in the late 1960s, capturing hearts with hits like I Want You Back, ABC, and I'll Be There. Almost overnight, the Jackson 5 became a sensation, and the world couldn't get enough of these talented brothers from Gary. But success came at a cost. Joe Jackson, the family patriarch, was a man with a vision and a temper. He pushed his children relentlessly, demanding perfection in every note, every step, every performance. His methods were harsh, and the emotional and physical toll on the kids was immense. Michael, in particular, bore the brunt of Joe's ambition. He was the star, the one with the voice that could move mountains and the charisma that could light up a room. But behind the scenes, he was just a child, yearning for the childhood he never had. As the Jackson 5 soared, so did Michael's solo career. By the late 1970s, he was no longer just the cute little brother in the group. He was a force to be reckoned with. His album Off the Wall in 1979 marked the beginning of his reign as the king of pop. But it was Thriller, released in 1982, that cemented his status as a global icon. With groundbreaking music videos, unforgettable dance moves, and hits like Billie Jean and Beat It, Michael didn't just make music. He created a cultural revolution. Yet for all his success, Michael's life was far from perfect. The pressures of fame, the relentless media scrutiny, and the weight of his own insecurities took a toll. He became a man of contradictions, a global superstar who longed for privacy, a philanthropist who faced scandal, and a father who wanted to give his children the childhood he never had. And then there was the rest of the Jackson family. While Michael's star burned the brightest, his siblings were navigating their own paths. Janet Jackson, the youngest of the Jackson siblings, carved out her own legendary career, becoming a pop icon in her own right. The other siblings, though not as globally famous, continued to make their mark in music and entertainment. But fame, as they quickly learned, was a double-edged sword. The Jackson family's rise to stardom was nothing short of extraordinary. From humble beginnings in Gary to sold-out stadiums around the world, they became a symbol of what talent, determination, and a little bit of luck could achieve. But with fame came challenges. The family's internal dynamics were complex, to say the least. Jealousy, competition, and the constant pressure to live up to the Jackson name created rifts that sometimes spilled into the public eye. Joe Jackson's domineering presence loomed large over the family. While he was credited with launching their careers, his methods left scars. Michael, in particular, spoke openly about the emotional and physical abuse he endured under Joe's strict regime. Catherine, on the other hand, was the nurturing force in the family, providing a sense of stability and love amidst the chaos. Despite the challenges, the Jacksons remained united by their shared experiences and their love for music. They supported each other through the highs and lows, from career triumphs to personal tragedies. When Michael passed away in 2009, the family came together to mourn the loss of their brightest star. But his death also brought old tensions to the surface, as the family grappled with his legacy and the future of the Jackson name. And then there were the secrets. Every family has them, but for the Jacksons, the stakes were higher. Rumors about Michael's relationships, his changing appearance, and his unconventional lifestyle fueled endless speculation. But perhaps the most enduring mystery was the one surrounding his children. Were they truly his biological offspring, or was there more to the story? And what about the next generation? How are Michael's children, Paris, Prince, and Biggie, carrying on the Jackson legacy? And what does the future hold for this iconic family? fractured bonds, and family ties. The Jackson family is often described as a dynasty, but behind the glittering facade of fame and fortune lies a web of complex relationships, simmering tensions, and unspoken truths. For Paris Jackson, navigating these dynamics has been anything but easy. Growing up as the daughter of Michael Jackson meant living under the weight of an iconic legacy, but it also meant grappling with the fractures within her own family. Paris's relationship with her siblings, Prince and Biggie, has been a cornerstone of her life. The three of them share a bond forged in the unique crucible of their upbringing. Raised under the watchful eye of their father, they were each other's constants in a world that often felt chaotic and unpredictable. After Michael's death in 2009, that bond became even more critical. They leaned on each other, finding solace in their shared grief and the understanding that no one else could truly comprehend what it meant to be Michael Jackson's children. Prince, the eldest, has often been described as the protector of the trio. He's the one who steps up, the one who speaks out, the one who tries to shield his younger siblings from the harsher realities of their lives. Paris, the middle child, has always been the free spirit, creative, outspoken, and unafraid to carve her own path. Biggie, the youngest, is quieter, more reserved, but no less determined to honor his father's legacy in his own way. Together, they've faced the world as a united front, but that doesn't mean their relationships have been without strain. In the years following Michael's death, rumors of rifts between the siblings occasionally surfaced. There were whispers of disagreements, of differing visions for their futures, and of the pressure to live up to the Jackson name. Paris, in particular, has been open about her struggles with mental health and identity, and those challenges have sometimes put her at odds with her brothers. But despite the occasional tension, their bond has remained unshakable. They've stood by each other through thick and thin, proving that family, even a family as complicated as the Jacksons, can be a source of strength. But the Jackson family extends far beyond Paris, Prince, and Biggie. It's a sprawling network of aunts, uncles, and cousins, each with their own stories, ambitions, and grievances. For Paris, navigating these relationships has been a delicate balancing act. On one hand, there's the undeniable pull of family loyalty. On the other, there's the need to carve out her own identity, separate from the weight of the Jackson name. One of the most significant figures in Paris's life has been her grandmother, Katherine Jackson. After Michael's death, Katherine became the legal guardian of Paris and her siblings, providing them with a sense of stability during a tumultuous time. Katherine has been a grounding force in Paris's life, offering love, guidance, and a connection to her father's roots. But even this relationship hasn't been without its challenges. As Paris has grown older and more independent, she's had to navigate the complexities of asserting her own identity while honoring the family that raised her. Then there's the rest of the Jackson clan. With a family as large and famous as the Jacksons, conflicts are inevitable. Over the years, there have been public disputes over Michael's estate, disagreements about how to honor his legacy, and even legal battles that have pitted family members against each other. For Paris, these conflicts have been a painful reminder of the pressures that come with being a Jackson. But perhaps the most complicated relationship in Paris's life has been with her biological mother, Debbie Rowe. Debbie, who was married to Michael from 1996 to 1999, has had a somewhat distant relationship with Paris for much of her life. After her divorce from Michael, Debbie relinquished custody of Paris and her siblings, and for many years they had little contact. That changed when Paris was 15. In a move that surprised many, she reached out to Debbie, seeking to reconnect with the woman who had given her life. Their relationship has been a work in progress, marked by moments of closeness and periods of distance. For Paris, reconnecting with Debbie has been a way to fill in the gaps in her own story, to understand where she comes from and who she is. But even as Paris has sought to build bridges with her biological mother, her relationship with the rest of the Jackson family has grown more complicated. The revelation about her DNA test and the possibility that Michael Jackson may not have been her biological father has added a new layer of tension to an already complex dynamic. For Paris, the question of where she fits in the Jackson family has become more pressing than ever. And then there's the public scrutiny. Being a Jackson means living your life under a microscope, with every decision, every relationship, every misstep dissected by the media and the public. For Paris, this has meant facing constant speculation about her personal life, her choices, and even her mental health. It's a level of pressure that few can understand, and it's taken a toll. Yet through it all, Paris has remained resilient. She's spoken openly about her struggles, using her platform to advocate for mental health awareness and to challenge the stigma surrounding issues like depression and addiction. She's also worked to honor her father's legacy in her own way, pursuing a career in music, acting, and modeling while staying true to herself. But the question remains, can Paris ever truly escape the shadow of the Jackson name? Or is she destined to be forever defined by the family she was born into? As we delve deeper into Paris's story, one thing becomes clear. Her journey is about more than just fame or family. It's about finding her own voice, her own path, and her own place in the world. And that's a story worth telling. So what happens when the weight of a legendary legacy collides with the desire for independence? Battling demons and finding redemption. Paris Jackson's life reads like a symphony of extremes, crescendos of privilege, decrescendos of pain, and movements of raw, unvarnished humanity. By the time she turned 18, she'd already lived a lifetime of headlines. The daughter of a legend, the grieving child of a fallen icon, the teenager who survived a storm of rumors, paparazzi, and personal chaos. But beneath the glittering surface of her life lay a battle few could comprehend, one that would test her resilience and redefine her identity. Let's start with the masks. Not the sequined ones Michael famously used to shield his kids from cameras, but the invisible ones Paris wore to hide her pain. After her father's death in 2009, Paris spiraled. At just 11 years old, she was thrust into a world of public mourning, legal battles over Michael's estate, and the suffocating glare of a media obsessed with her every move. The girl who once rode elephants at Neverland and sang lullabies with her dad now faced a reality where grief wasn't just private, it was a spectator sport. By her early teens, Paris was grappling with depression, anxiety, and a sense of isolation that no amount of fame or fortune could fix. In interviews, she'd later describe feeling like a ghost in her own life, disconnected from her body, her family, and even her own name. The pressure to be Michael Jackson's daughter weighed on her like a crown she never asked to wear. And then came the self-destructive coping mechanisms, cutting, substance abuse, and a suicide attempt at 14 that shocked the world. Then came the rumors. Tabloids painted her as the troubled Jackson kid, speculating about rehab stints, erratic behavior, and feuds with her siblings. But Paris refused to let the narrative define her. Instead, she leaned into vulnerability, sharing her struggles with mental health on social media and in interviews. She spoke openly about therapy, meditation, and the daily work of staying sober. In a world obsessed with perfection, Paris became a beacon of messy, real-life resilience. But the demons didn't vanish overnight. In 2017, at 19, she checked into a treatment facility for trauma and emotional health. The decision wasn't easy. Imagine admitting you need help when millions are watching. But Paris framed it as an act of strength, not weakness. "I needed to reset," she said later. "I needed to stop running from the pain and finally face it." And face it she did. During her time in treatment, Paris reconnected with nature, a passion she'd inherited from her father. She hiked, practiced yoga, and found solace in the quiet moments away from the chaos. She also began to explore her indigenous roots. Her biological mother, Debbie Rowe, has Native American ancestry, a journey that gave her a deeper sense of identity beyond the Jackson name. But redemption isn't a straight line. In 2019, Paris faced another public reckoning when she revealed she'd been sexually assaulted as a teenager. The admission, shared in a Rolling Stone interview, was a bombshell, a stark reminder that even golden cages have hidden horrors. Yet again, Paris turned her pain into purpose, using her platform to advocate for survivors and push for conversations about consent and healing. Music became her sanctuary. In 2020, she released her debut album, Wilted, a haunting blend of indie folk and raw confessionals. Tracks like Let Down and Eyelids weren't just songs, they were diary entries set to melody. Critics praised her authenticity, and fans connected with the rawness of her storytelling. For Paris, it was proof that she could honor her father's legacy without living in his shadow. Then, in a plot twist no one saw coming, Paris fell in love with acting. She landed roles in films and TV shows, not as a Nepo baby, but as a dedicated rookie willing to start from scratch. On set, she found a new kind of family, one that saw her as Paris, not Michael's kid. Her performance in the indie thriller Habit earned nods for its intensity, proving she had chops beyond her famous last name. But perhaps the most radical act of redemption? Paris's relationship with her body. For years, she'd hidden under baggy clothes, tattoos, and a punk rock persona, but in recent years, she's embraced her skin, literally. She became a model, strutting runways and gracing magazine covers in looks that celebrated her tattoos, her curves, and her unapologetic individuality. Today at 26, Paris Jackson is a study in contradictions. A Hollywood insider with a hippie soul, a mental health advocate with a rock star edge. A Jackson who's rewriting the family script on her own terms. She's sober, outspoken, and fiercely protective of her peace. But the battle isn't over. It's just evolved. So what do you think about Paris's life journey? And do you think the rumors about the DNA test are true? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. We've got a lot of exciting videos coming. See you in the next one.